Hi guys, Avi here, and welcome to part 2 on creating our first Django application. Let's get started. So the next thing we have to do once we've installed Django is to create a database. So the first thing we need after that is we need to create a project. So by creating a project, what it does is it auto-generates some Django code in our directory. And what I want you to realize is, for example, we're creating this polls app, right? What we want to do is you want to create a project that is our overall website, maybe my site, and then after that we'll create the polls app. So I'll explain it to you once we write the code, but go ahead and in your terminal down at the bottom, go ahead and type the following code: Django admin start project my site. Alright, Django admin start project my site. And this automatically generates some pre-written code for us. As you can see, the my site directory is now there. We have some files, init.py, that just tells the directory that this is a Python package. Settings.py is quite useful. It has the settings for our website. URLs, again, straightforward, has the URLs for our website. Manage.py is very key. And what it does is it allows us to communicate to Django via the terminal. And then we have wsgi.py. This file just tells us that, if we're going to upload our website to a server, then we're going to use this file. So we don't have to worry about this right now. Anyways, once we've created this project, we need to create an application. So the project is the overall ranging project, our big website. And then inside of a website, we can have multiple applications. We can have a polls application. We can have a blog application. We can have several different applications inside of one big project. And that's basically how Django websites are created. So go ahead and for our second command, go ahead and type in Python, first of all, cd into your my site directory, cd my site, and then we're going to use the manage.py file. So hit Python manage.py, spelled it wrong, start app polls, okay? Python manage.py start app polls, and what does that do? It creates the polls app inside of our directory. And now we have all these bunch of files. I'll do a quick explanation again. We have init.py, which just tells that it's a Python package. Admin.py helps us to add our models to the admin page. We have apps.py, which is used to configure our polls app. Models.py has our database. So any objects that we create in the database will be created in the models.py. Tests is used for testing. And views.py is used to display our models onto our website. So we'll discuss this more in detail as we progress throughout this whole series. But that was just a general briefing of how they work. Now, the next step is to add our database entries. We're creating a polls app, right? What do you think a polls app might require? Well, one for sure, it needs a question. And second of all, it needs choices. So head over to your models.py and over here add the following code. So what you're going to do is you're going to say class question, and then inside of it you're going to say models.model. And what this means is we're creating a model called question, and we're signifying that by putting models.model in the parameter to let Django know that it's a model. After that, go ahead and enter two fields. Question text, which is equal to models.char field. Max length is equal to, let's say, 100. And then we're going to add a pub date. So pub date is equal to models.datetime field, and then date published. So let's go over what just happened here. We created a model, we called it question. And just like any other object you create in a database, it must have some value, right? If you are creating a shopping list for your database object, you're going to have maybe item text is equal to whatever object you want to add to your shopping list, right? So that's what we're doing here. We're setting the question text equal to a text field whose max length can be 100, and then we're also adding a published date whose model.datetime field is equal to date published. Now let's go ahead and repeat this exact same thing for our choices. Class choice, models.model, and then we are going to add, first of all, a choice text. So just like the question text, we need a choice text to add some content to our choice. That's going to be models.char field, and max length is equal to 200. Now, just to let you guys know, there are tons of fields. Char field and datetime field are just some of them. If you wanted a paragraph, right? For example, if you want your choice to be multiple lines, instead of char field, you can use a text field. Then we're also gonna have a votes, right? So if a user selects a choice, there must be some voting going on. So this is going to be an integer field, models.integer field, and then default is equal to 0. Now, one last thing. Suppose I had a question, what country are you born in? And I put a choice as USA. But then I also created another question, what's your name? And in that question, the choice USA appeared. Well, that's a bug, right? That's an error. We don't want that to happen. So what can we do to make sure that every choice that we create correlates to only one question? Well, that's where something called foreign key comes in. We're going to say question is equal to models.foreign key, okay? And what foreign key does is it basically is like a link. So this choice will be linked to this question, pass in question as a parameter, and then add an on delete. So on delete is just in case we delete it, and say models.cascade, that just removes it. Alright, so this is our models. Hopefully you understood what happened. It may be a bit confusing right now. Don't worry about it. You'll get the hang of it as you progress through Django. So go ahead and save this. Fantastic. There's one last thing we have to do with creating our database, and that is to migrate our changes and add it to our settings.py. So open up your My Site directory on the left hand side and open up settings.py by double clicking. In your installed apps right over here, underneath django.contrib.static files, I want you to add polls because this is the latest app that we have created, and we want Django to know that they have to add this app to their directory. So polls has been added, it's now going to be installed, that's fantastic. And with the models.py, there's one peculiarity, and that is that any changes you do to the models.py file, you have to migrate them. So head over to your My Site in your terminal down below and say python manage.py make migrations polls. So if you've ever used GitHub, you know how version checking works. That's the exact same concept here. So it's now, so you can see create model choice, create model question, add field question to choice. Pretty neat, right? Now what we have to do is, just like in GitHub where you commit, go ahead and say python manage.py migrate. Alright? Straightforward code. Everything isn't migrated. That's fantastic. Alright guys, that's it for this lecture. If you liked it, please don't hesitate to share and don't forget to subscribe. In the next video, we're going to talk about populating our database through the Django shell and through the Django admin page. See you then.